Good evening and welcome to Northbeat. I'm Robert Holden. A woman in Nunavut is taking the territorial government to court over the death of her child in a care home. Two young people died while under the care of the Naya Isabel Group home in Chesterfield Inlet. Multiple investigations were launched, but the parents of one child say that's not enough. Samuel Watt reports.
Adrian Angaglik says her daughter Kennedy was born with cerebral palsy. The 12-year-old was placed at the Naya Isabel Group home in Chesterfield Inlet when she was 2, but her condition deteriorated in late 2023. She died in January 2024.
This kind of thing that happened to my daughter, I don't want it happening to other families around Nunavut.
Kennedy's parents are taking the Nunavut government to court and the Pimux Corporation, the operator of the home. They allege negligence in their daughter's care, failures in oversight, medical care, and informed consent. Adrian says she wasn't told about Kennedy's deteriorating condition until after she was flown out of the community for emergency care.
I found out 2 days later that she was in the hospital.
The Nunavut government contracted a third-party investigation. Nunavut RCMP also looked into it, but Adrian's lawyer Andrew Morrison says more questions than answers remain.
When there's harm that's taking place, you would imagine that there'd be a strong, fulsome, quite transparent process to understand.
They argue the Nunavut government's external review failed to include Kennedy's parents.
I would just like an apology for what happened.
The Nunavut government is yet to file a statement of defence, and it declined to comment on the specifics of the case. The Pimux Corporation that no longer appears to be operating, and its former CEO did not respond to requests for comment. None of the allegations have been proven in court. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The first part of a conservation fund worth hundreds of millions of dollars has been distributed to Indigenous governments and organizations in the NWT. A news release issued Thursday says the first portion is worth $21 million. It's part of a larger $375 million federal and private fund announced back in 2024. It's called Our Land for the Future Trust. More than 20 Indigenous governments in the territory signed on to it. The money will be used to study, plan, and manage protected areas, but also protect future generations.
It gets quite personal for me because I've always wanted to do this work, so that way I was leaving or inspiring a potential future for my own children to step into these roles and to understand who they were as Dene children and Dene youth and hopefully eventually Dene leaders. But it also creates that opportunity for all of their peers and family members around them to do what we can in our own agency to support our communities and to help, create a more positive and hopeful future.
Setso says all the groups who initially signed on will receive a portion of that $21 million. Further funding will be released annually over a 10-year period. Another stressful spring is approaching for some homeowners in Fort Good Hope NWT. 29 homes are at risk due to erosion, and so are the people who live in them. Erosion has been an issue for years in the charter community of about 500 people, where many homes are built on the bank of the Mackenzie River. Some residents were advised they should leave their homes in the spring to be safe, but there's a housing shortage. So leadership says it's not easy to relocate people. For affected residents, erosion is a source of worry.
All the time, especially in the spring and in the fall with the heavy rains and stuff like that. I worry about it because especially if we have lots of rain, you could see where the rain, I guess, goes down the bank, the little rivers and the streams that develop.
Erosion workshops were previously scheduled this week in Fort Good Hope to discuss the issue, but are now postponed. Residents can now expect them by the end of March. Tourism associations in all 3 territories are banding together in the hope of boosting the number of visitors to the north. Northwest Territories Tourism, Travel Nunavut, and the Tourism Industry Association of the Yukon have agreed to form the Arctic Canada Tourism Network. It's modeled on a similar group established by the tourism industry in Scandinavia, where winter tourism is strong.
It contributes to how those countries are viewed globally, to what their sort of place brand is. It gives them soft power in terms of, citizens of the world go to these Arctic parts of Scandinavia and they interact with the Indigenous people and they learn kind of what the culture and temperament is of those countries. So
Ryan says increasing tourism economies will contribute to Arctic sovereignty. He says the first meeting of the network will take place in a few weeks to establish a strategy. The hamlet of Taloyoak in Nunavut opened its soup kitchen recently to help residents during a cold snap. The soup kitchen offered a free lunch to people in Taloyoak on Friday and Saturday. It's not regularly open, but the mayor is trying to change that. CBC's Leanie Lambrink has more.
This is a big pot that I made with the help of my niece. This is fish soup.
Delilah Aleki studied culinary arts in Cambridge Bay last year. She says it feels good to put her skills to use in the soup kitchen now that she's home in Taloyoak.
I love feeding my community, seeing them happy and smiling. There was quite a few that came yesterday, and when they were done eating, they gave good compliments about the soup and bannock.
More than 50 people came by the space for a meal: beef stew, Arctic char soup, and bannock. Caroline Aluk says the soup kitchen means a lot to her.
It's really good because most of the people are not working, and it's most likely like single mothers try their best to feed their kids, but it's always hard. And this soup kitchen is the best. I'm so happy they got this going for the kids to eat that don't usually eat mostly on the weekend. The weekend's the hardest time to ask for food or go out for food at relatives.
Mayor Lenny Penehayek says work to turn the old council chambers into the soup kitchen finished a little more than a year ago, but the space isn't open regularly. He's looking for funding to operate it more often, like 3 to 5 times a week.
Having a high unemployment rate, there are people out there that are going to sleep hungry. Even children, they are going to sleep hungry, and families to go home, to go to sleep hungry, that's not what we would want. And to have it open, it would feed a lot of people, to make sure that they had something in their stomach at least that day and they go to sleep full.
Penehayek says running the soup kitchen will cost a lot of money, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year, depending on staff and how often it's open. He hopes the government of Nunavut and the Kitikmeot Inuit Association will kick in funds. Joshua Brissett is skeptical the hamlet will find the money to keep it open regularly. Even so, he'd like to see it open more than a few days a week.
My main concern about that is, for the kids. I've had my own experiences up here, seeing kids having to steal in order to eat. And, with the soup kitchen being opened up for only a certain amount of days, I feel like that isn't sufficient enough to meet the needs for people's, food needs.
Taloyoak's SAO says the hamlet is actively looking for money to operate the soup kitchen. He says it's also working with a local school on doing a hot lunch program. The funding for that hasn't yet been confirmed. Leanie Lambrink, CBC News, Taloyoak.
It won't just be athletes, coaches, and fans at a major basketball tournament in Yellowknife this weekend. Police and security guards are there too. Athletes and spectators at the Senior Cager basketball tournament can expect to have their bags searched. Athletes will need wristbands to enter change rooms, and entrances and exits at each school will be limited. This comes after police arrested 2 high school students this month over social media threats involving imitation and real firearms. Staying in the Northwest Territories, new leaders at the Decho Divisional Education Council are getting down to business. Terry Yafre has been appointed interim superintendent and Jane Archuk interim associate superintendent. As CBC's Carla Ulrich reports, they're already working to rebuild trust.
The appointment follows a period of turmoil in the district last year. Terry Jaffray says their focus now is on restoring routine operations and getting ready for the next school year. That work includes rebuilding trust by increasing parent input and school planning.
They want to be heard. They want to know that what they think about their child's education is important, and they want to know that someone is listening to them.
Mary Mazazumi was a parent who raised concerns prior to the leadership changes. She moved her children out of Fort Simpson before the new appointments and says accountability will be key to rebuilding trust.
That is one big thing that we need. So we're able to build trust within putting our children back into learning environments that are supposed to be helping them.
Jaffray says the goal is to restore stability in the region's education system. That has included bringing local education leaders back on the same page.
One of the things that we did recently was hold governance training, and we did that with all of our DEA members and our school principals. And so getting them on the same page with respect to their roles and responsibilities and how they can work together.
Jaffray says they have also worked to address financial and staffing uncertainties, and that regular meetings with principals are now happening again. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
In the Northwest Territories, a major chapter in northern mining is coming to a close. Today in Betchikal, Rio Tinto and the Clecho government signed a closure agreement for the Taloyoak diamond mine. It's set to shut down next month. The agreement today recognizes what will follow that closure and also celebrates 26 years of partnership. Jocelyn Chappelle is in Betchikal with more on what this closure agreement means for people there.
Hi, Rob. As you mentioned, we're here because of this agreement. Signed by chiefs and by Taloyoak officials, it is one of the first of its kind signed by Rio Tinto here in Canada. I'm joined here with Jackson Lafferty. Jackson, how are you today?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Would you mind telling me a bit about what brought you here today and what the signing of this agreement marks?
Taloyoak came out. It's been 25 years in the making. And working in our territorial jurisdiction, employing so many people, providing business opportunities for our Kinchua Nation. 25 years is a long time, but we're here embarking on the closure, mine closure, and signing the agreement today is about how the closure agreement is going to look and who's going to be involved, and we're going to be involved at the day one until final closure of the mine site, and how to provide opportunities for our Kinchua Nation. So that's the agreement we're here witnessing, and we have so many people here who came out today to witness it. And it is one of the events that we knew it was coming, Taloyoak, and obviously there's two other mines are up and coming as well. But like I said, this is the first of its kind, Taloyoak and Rio Tinto signing an actual agreement of mine closure in the Northwest Territories. That speaks volume. And speaks volume of how partnership truly works, collaboration, and we must work together to close a mine. We open a mine together, let's close a mine together.
Absolutely. I think you mentioned we see a lot of community members are out here today, a lot with connections to the mine. What are you hoping that attendees take away from this agreement?
Basically, it's being respectful and collaboration, working together, cooperation, and just being a good corporate citizens. Like that, when Taloyoak first started, they've been involved with the community engagement right at the get-go, permitting process, engaging the communities, engaging the community members, until the very end today, mine closure. They're still continue that collaboration, working with us. We're partners with them, and we're going to do what we can to protect and preserve our land, our waterways, and also wildlife. And that's always been our ancestors' vision, protect our environment. At the same time, creating opportunities for our people. With mine closure, obviously, there'll be some layoffs. At the same time, creating opportunities for transferable skills too, to other mine sites, to the mine closure as well, the reclamation work. So those are some of the key areas that we've been talking about as leaders and going forward. And so just creating opportunities, at the same time, protecting our environment.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear of this closure agreement that recognizes reclamation work that needs to be done and kind of sets in stone that that work will be done. There's a bit of a transition period between the closure of the mine that's coming up quickly next month and when that reclamation work gets started. What's your priority during that transition period?
Just engaging the communities because there's going to be a lot of educational awareness. What does that entail? The mine closure, the whole reclamation work that needs to take place, and we've been involving elders in the past, traditional knowledge, right from the start of the exploration, the construction, the operation phase of the Taloyoak diamond mine and the other mines in our backyard. And those are some of the key elders that we're still utilizing till this day. And they're sitting here with us, some of them. And we're going to continue utilizing their skills, their experience during the transition of reclamation work. And because we need to involve the TK, traditional knowledge, at the get-go, at the tail end. So we're involving them every step of the way. Even the young people are getting involved as well. So it all mixes together. It's a united front. We all have to work together, collaborate, work together as a nation. Working with Taloyoak has been positive over the years, and we need to continue that trend. And until the very end, when we shut down the mine, we close the mine, then it wouldn't be back to normal, the land itself. But at the same time, try to put it back to pristine as it was at the beginning. And that's always been our stories of the elders of the past. And we must continue that to carry that forward. So those are some of the key messages that we've heard today from the elders. And just being in partner with Taloyoak and working together, sitting at the table, decision-making table, makes a huge difference. We're part of the team.
Amazing. On that note, I think we'll end it there. Thank you so much, Jackson.
Merci.
Merci.
Sucho.
Merci. I'll send that back.
And thanks to Jocelyn for that. We'll have more on this story tomorrow night on Northbeat. The Nunatsiavut government is throwing their support behind the new Inuit Nunangat University. Nunatsiavut's president Johannes Lamp says Inuit are feeling excited about the potential to attend. He says the university can strengthen language and culture, especially by hiring Inuit educators to teach future generations. He says it could help revitalize terminology and history for Inuit.
There is so much to look forward to, where our children and our grandchildren will be able to learn all of these things.
The Nunatsiavut government is making an initial contribution of $250,000 towards the development of the university. The federal government is investing more than $2.8 million in artificial intelligence projects across the north. In Nunavut, part of that funding will help communities build their own economic plans and write grant proposals using AI tools. Carl Cardinal reports.
The money comes from the Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency, known as CANOR. Two projects from the Nunavut Economic Developers Association were selected for $200,000 in funding. The first will help hamlets create community economic development plans that set local priorities and guide growth for years ahead. The second project will help write grant applications and funding proposals. The tools will mostly look like a website, and they're being developed at the University of Waterloo. They will learn from community data and help draft documents tailored to each hamlet's need. Aman Marchand is the executive director for NIDA.
It gives more autonomy to our communities because there is less reliance on outside consultants to do this kind of work.
CANOR says the funding is part of a national program focused on AI adoption and development. Regional Director Robert Aubé says the agency launches an expression of interest process every year. He says there is a growing demand for tools that help organizations build skills and streamline their work.
I think AI has the potential to do a lot of that. So there's absolutely an interest in Nunavut for increasing our capacity and increase our efficiencies.
The program will run until March 2029. Canard says they are encouraging more northern businesses and organizations to apply. Carl Cardinal, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Many parts of the world are experiencing rapid swings between very dry and very wet conditions, and the whiplash is becoming more extreme as the planet warms. As Joanna Wagstaff explains, it's easier to understand if we see Earth's atmosphere as a sponge, one that's getting heavier.
Does it feel like we're stuck in a loop? Droughts, floods, droughts, floods, droughts, floods. There's a new explanation from scientists around why this keeps happening. Turns out the explanation is as simple as using a sponge. Hydroclimate whiplash is the sudden and frequent switch from very wet to very dry or very dry to very wet. So think of the atmosphere as a sponge. As water evaporates from oceans, lakes, soil, plants, the atmosphere soaks it up. And at a certain point, the air can only hold so much. The water vapor condenses into clouds, and it rains. Eventually, the water will evaporate again, the sponge will soak it up, starting the cycle once more. But what if you had a bigger sponge? As the atmosphere warms up, it can hold more moisture. Basically, at higher temperatures, molecules move at faster speeds, so they're more likely to jump into the water vapor phase and condense into clouds. This is our atmosphere on climate change, soaking up more water, creating drier conditions, and dumping it back down on us, which is why we get floods. For each degree Celsius of warming, the atmosphere's ability to hold more water vapor goes up by about 7%. According to a new review paper, this whole process of soaking up and dumping out is happening faster, hence the term hydroclimate whiplash. In the past, there could be years, even decades, between the driest and the wettest season, and now they're often happening back to back. Globally, whiplash events have increased by about 50% in a 40-year period, and that means more of all the hazards that come with wet and dry, from heat waves and wildfires to flash floods and landslides, and they're feeding off each other.
And what we saw recently in Los Angeles was exactly this. Like, we had very wet conditions previously, and then transit over the summer and into this winter into very dry conditions. And the problem with that is that if you have wet conditions, you have a lot of vegetation growth. And then if you go into very dry conditions, the vegetation dries out, and then you have a lot of fuel for fire.
And no surprise here, the review also found that hydroclimate whiplash will continue to ramp up as the Earth heats up.
Well, what we see at the moment is just the beginning. Canada is one of the hotspots where you see this changes, this increases happening the fastest globally.
So that means these headlines aren't going away anytime soon. But here's the positive. Climate scientists are now working to plug all of this into climate models and get better forecasts for those quick and extreme turnarounds, so those of us on the ground can better prepare for a bigger sponge.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Robert Holden. Have a good night.